Nathan and I met 7 years back in the strangest way. It was during that crazy flood in 2016 we both ended up stuck in this little diner in a small town. The roads were completely washed out and no one had cell service. So for 5 hours we sat around with some locals playing cards. What should have been a stressful, miserable night turned into something else because he kept making me laugh. When the signal finally came back, we traded Instagram handles. A month later we started dating. 3 years after that, we tied the knot. Now, our daughter Chloe is 7 years old, and honestly, she's the absolute center of my world. She's like this tiny whirlwind, always moving, twirling around, leaping off furniture no matter how many times I tell her not to. A few months ago, she came home from school just buzzing with excitement. She wouldn't stop talking about her friend Haley, who was taking dance classes. Apparently, the teacher lets them wear real ballet shoes, and she begged me over and over to let her join too. I thought it sounded perfect for her. Chloe has so much energy to burn, and dance felt like a great outlet. That evening, I brought it up to Nathan, thinking he'd be on board, but his reaction caught me off guard. He looked up from his phone and let out this short, cold laugh. It wasn't playful, more like a scoff. Then he told me we couldn't afford luxuries like dance classes on just his income. And if I wanted Chloe doing expensive stuff like that, maybe I should be pitching in more financially. That hit me like a slap. I'd cut back to part-time work after Chloe was born, something we both agreed on, by the way. As far as I knew, we weren't strapped for cash. We live in a modest home, drive a couple of older cars that are fully paid off. Sure, we weren't taking fancy vacations or anything, but I didn't think $75 a month for dance classes was completely out of reach. I said as much, and he pulled out the banking app on his phone. He showed me our monthly budget, pointing to what was left after bills. The numbers didn't seem to add up right, something felt off, but I couldn't quite explain why. Nathan's always handled the money since he's good with numbers. So I agreed to start bringing in more. I picked up a second job, an evening shift at a diner not far from our house. The hours were tough. I had my regular day job, then worked nights waiting tables 4 times a week. I'd come home dead tired, feet killing me, reeking of fryer grease. When I told Nathan how drained I was, he brushed it off. He literally told me, and I'll never forget this, that I didn't earn the right to feel tired since I wasn't contributing enough financially. I swallowed my pride. I told myself I was doing this for Chloe so she could dance. But 3 months passed and she still wasn't in any classes. Every time I brought it up, Nathan had a reason. The good studio was full. The next session was around the corner. We needed to save up a bit more. Meanwhile, I started noticing things that didn't sit right. Chloe would talk about going to the zoo when she was out with Nathan while I worked. She'd come home with new toys, stuff I definitely didn't buy. She also started mentioning someone named Lisa, Daddy's friend. When I casually asked Nathan who Lisa was, he said she was a coworker going through a divorce. He told me she was lonely and sometimes tagged along when he had Chloe. Said she was great with kids and it was nice to have adult conversation on the nights I was gone. At the time, it sounded reasonable. But then Chloe started saying strange things. Stuff like how Lisa takes better pictures than I do. Or how she wanted Lisa to come to my birthday. The worst was when she started calling me Jessie now and then instead of Mommy. I asked her why and she said, "Lisa calls you Jessie, so I thought that's your name too." That was the moment alarm bells really went off. I checked Nathan's Instagram, nothing suspicious. No sign of Lisa. Looked through his Facebook too, same story. When I tried to bring her up again just in conversation, he snapped. Told me I was being paranoid and said his friendships weren't up for debate. That was 2 months ago when things really started to unravel. One night, I got off work early because the diner was dead slow. When I got home, the house was empty. Nathan's car was gone and he wasn't replying to texts. He finally messaged back saying they were getting ice cream and would be back soon. An hour later, they walked in. Chloe was wearing a brand new outfit I'd never seen before. She was going on and on about the cartoon movie they'd just watched. Not ice cream, a movie. And from the way she talked, it was obvious Lisa had been with them. After Chloe went to bed, I confronted him. I asked why he lied. Why Chloe had new clothes when we supposedly couldn't swing dance class. And who exactly Lisa was to our family. He looked at me with this coldness I didn't recognize and said, "Maybe if you were more fun, she'd still call you Mommy." I didn't know what to say. I stood there stunned, hurt, angry, silent. I just nodded and walked away. Because honestly, what do you even say to that? That was 4 months ago. Since then, I've been paying close attention. I work. I watch. I connect the dots. Nathan always has work dinners on my nights off. Chloe's mentioned sleeping at Lisa's house when I'm gone overnight. There are charges on our credit card, restaurants, movie tickets on nights he said he was working late. He's got new clothes. A slick new smartwatch. But somehow we still can't afford dance lessons for our daughter. Last week, while helping Chloe clean her room, I found something tucked in her drawer. A small pile of photos, pictures of her, Nathan, and a woman I didn't recognize. They were at an amusement park. A water park. Even what looked like a Christmas party. The dates on the back? Over a year old. So this has been going on longer than I thought. Before I even started my second job. That woman, I'm guessing she's Lisa, looks like one of those Instagram models. Blonde, perfect smile, wearing those effortlessly expensive clothes that cost more than a week's worth of my tips. One of the photos stopped me cold. Chloe was dressed in a dance outfit, tutu and all. The timestamp on the back was from more than a year ago. So he did take her to classes and just stopped. I had no idea, not until Haley brought it up again. All this time, he said we couldn't afford dance. Made me work myself into the ground. While he was playing family with another woman and taking Chloe along for the ride. Yesterday over breakfast, Chloe looked up at me and asked if Lisa was going to be her new mommy. Just like that. Between spoonfuls of cereal. I nearly dropped my coffee mug. I asked her why she'd say something like that. She shrugged and said, because Daddy and Lisa are special friends and she sleeps in Daddy's bed when I'm at her house. I still don't know what to do with that. I haven't confronted Nathan yet. I need to be smart. I can't just blow up and risk making this worse, not for Chloe. So here's what I'm doing. I've requested copies of all our financial statements from the past year. I'm rearranging my shifts at the diner to line up better with Chloe's schedule. And I'm saving everything, every picture, every shred of proof I can get. I've also made an appointment with a lawyer next week. I'm done being gaslit. Done breaking my back while my husband builds some fantasy life with another woman. Done watching my daughter slowly drift away from me. It feels like I've stepped into a different life, like nothing I believed was real. Anyway, here's the first update. I've got more to tell. And it's not good. Remember how I said I was going to request our financial records? Well, I took it a step further. Nathan's always been the one to manage our money. Says I'm not good with finances, his words, not mine. We have a joint account, at least officially. But he set up the online banking years ago, and at some point I realized I didn't even know the login anymore. The password I thought we used didn't work when I tried it. Instead of going to him and raising suspicion, I decided to handle it quietly. Last Wednesday during my lunch break, I went straight to our bank branch. At first, the teller looked at me like I was confused or mistaken. I told her I needed printed statements but didn't have access to our online account. When I showed her my ID and explained I was a joint account holder trying to check in on our household finances, she softened right away. She ended up being really helpful. What I found nearly made me throw up right there in the bank lobby. For the past year and a half, Nathan's been transferring money, regular chunks, usually between $400 and $800, into an account I'd never even heard of. Like clockwork on the first of every month. And on top of that, there were random extra transfers here and there. Some were small. Others were big. They lined up perfectly with those so-called work trips he's been taking. In just the past year, those transfers added up to more than $30,000. And meanwhile, I've been busting my tail working late nights at a diner because we supposedly couldn't afford $75 a month for dance lessons. Some days he sent more than that to this secret account in a single transfer. And it doesn't stop there. It actually gets worse. Those statements showed charges from places I didn't recognize at all. A ton of restaurant bills, way more expensive than what we'd ever spend on a family dinner. Hotel stays in nearby cities. Then I saw a jewelry store charge over $2,000 spent around Christmas. Meanwhile, my gift from him that year was a $35 scarf from Target. And I was honestly touched by that scarf, thinking we were watching every penny. After leaving the bank, I went home and did something I've never done before. I started digging through Nathan's desk while he was still at work. My hands were trembling. I felt like a criminal in my own house. What I found hit harder than anything I could have imagined. I uncovered a credit card statement, an account that was only in his name. One of the charges was for 2 plane tickets to Florida just 2 months ago. That was the same week he told me he was away at a training seminar upstate. The names on the tickets? One was his. The other, Erica Monroe. I snapped photos of everything with my phone. Every last document. Evidence. Then I found something else, a property tax bill for a condo. Not ours. One I didn't even know existed. And the name on the paperwork? Just Nathan's. It was purchased a year ago. And now I know those nights Chloe said she was staying at Lisa's house? That wasn't Lisa's. It was his place. A separate property my husband bought without ever telling me. That's when it all began to click. I've been killing myself for months trying to bring in a few $100 extra. Money he clearly didn't need. I used to think he asked me to get that second job because things were tight. Because maybe we were struggling more than I realized. But now, I see it for what it really was, a way to keep me occupied. To keep me out of the house. So I'd be too tired to notice the truth. If I'm gone every night, then Lisa gets to tuck Chloe in. She gets to make breakfast. She gets to play mommy. That second job was never about dance classes. It was about pushing me out of the picture. I spent that afternoon in this numb, almost eerie calm. Just slowly taking photos of everything. Putting it all back exactly the way I found it. And then sitting on the back porch. Staring off at nothing until it was time to pick up Chloe. When she came running out of school and saw me instead of Nathan, her whole face lit up. He usually does the Wednesday pickups. That was it for me. I made up my mind right then. No more working nights when she's awake. No more missing bedtime stories and school performances. No more letting someone else step into my role. That same night, I called the diner and asked to change my schedule. Shifted to early mornings, hours before Chloe even wakes up. And I kept just 2 evening shifts on weekends. Only when she's busy with friends or birthday parties. Sure, it's less money. But I'd rather live off ramen noodles than miss another minute with my kid. When I told Nathan about the schedule change, he looked surprised. He asked if that meant I was quitting the second job altogether. I gave him a smile and said I just wanted more time with Chloe. He looked unsettled. Said something about how we still needed the extra income. I shrugged and told him I'd make it work. The next day after school, I took Chloe out for ice cream, just the two of us. At first, she seemed a little unsure. Like she didn't know how to act around me. That crushed me. When had my own daughter started to drift away? But by the time we finished our Sundays, she was bubbling over, talking about school, friends, everything. I asked her, as casually as I could, if she still wanted to take dance classes. Her whole face lit up like a Christmas tree. So I didn't wait. I drove us straight to the same studio Haley goes to and signed Chloe up on the spot. Paid for 3 full months in advance, all from my diner tip money I'd been quietly setting aside. When I told her, she started literally bouncing in the parking lot. Then she asked if she could tell Lisa. I kept my tone light and said Lisa didn't need to know everything. This could be something special, just between us. Mom and Chloe time. That weekend was her first class. I bought her a real leotard and those little ballet slippers she'd been dreaming about. When we came home with her dance gear, Nathan barely said a word. He asked where the money came from. I told him I'd been saving for something special for Chloe. He didn't ask more. But he didn't look thrilled either. Over the next few weeks I kept digging. I found Lisa's Instagram. It was set to private. But her profile picture confirmed she was the woman in those photos. I also found her LinkedIn. Wouldn't you know it, she works at the same company as Nathan. Big surprise. Then I found the official records for that condo. Bought just 3 months after he told me we had to start pinching pennies and that I should pick up extra shifts. Each new piece of info made me angrier and more focused. I started making backup copies of all the important documents. Opened a new bank account at a totally different bank. Quietly started moving over my diner tips a little at a time. I gave my mom copies of everything I'd gathered, just in case. Told her Nathan and I were going through a rough patch but didn't get into specifics. Didn't want to worry her just yet. Then last Tuesday I sat down for a meeting with a lawyer. I laid everything out on the table. The secret account. The condo. The trips. The other woman. She listened calmly, taking notes, asking a few questions here and there. When I finished, she looked me right in the eye and asked, "What is it you want?" It hit me then. I hadn't actually put it into words. Not even in my own head. What do I want? I want my daughter back. All of her. I want financial stability that doesn't depend on someone who's been lying to me for years. I want to stop second-guessing myself, wondering if I'm crazy. I want Lisa out of the picture permanently. And I want Nathan to face the consequences of what he's done. The lawyer nodded. She said we had options. With the financial records I'd gathered, and the clear proof of his long-term relationship with Lisa. I have grounds for a very favorable divorce. She told me to keep collecting evidence, but quietly. Don't let him know what I'm up to. In the meantime, things with Chloe have been getting better. Every day a little more. She absolutely loves those dance classes. Lately, Chloe's been asking me to practice her dance routines at home, instead of talking about whatever Lisa showed her. Yesterday she called me mommy again, for the first time in months. I had to slip off to the bathroom just so she wouldn't see the tears coming. Meanwhile, Nathan's been acting jumpy. He's constantly checking his phone, leaving the house early, and coming home later than usual. Yesterday, I caught him in the backyard talking on the phone. His voice was low, tense, the kind of tone people use when they're arguing but trying not to get caught. I only heard bits and pieces. Something about suspicious, asking questions, and needing more time. I acted like I hadn't heard anything, but that night, everything kind of exploded in a way I wasn't expecting. Nathan came home clearly on edge, pacing around the kitchen while I was fixing dinner, glancing at his watch every couple of minutes. Finally, he blurted out that I needed to drop the whole dance class thing. Said it was a waste of money and completely unnecessary. I didn't stop chopping vegetables. Didn't even look at him. Just calmly said that Chloe loves it. And I'd already paid for 3 months ahead of time. That's when he smacked his hand on the counter so hard it made the dishes jump. He demanded to know where I got the money. I finally looked up at him, still holding the knife, and told him straight. I've been saving my diner tips. That money was mine, and I chose to spend it on our daughter. His expression twisted, like he didn't know whether to be furious or freaked out. Then he turned and stormed out of the house, slamming the front door behind him. Chloe heard it from her room and came running downstairs. She asked where Daddy went. I just pulled her into a hug and said he needed some fresh air. We ended up making a night of it, just the two of us. We ordered pizza, painted our nails, and practiced her dance moves right there in the living room. Nathan didn't come home until well past midnight. I pretended to be asleep when he walked in. The next morning I got a text from his mom. She asked if we were still planning to attend their anniversary party next weekend. She mentioned how excited they were to see us, and how Nathan's dad was especially looking forward to meeting his friend Lisa, who would be coming along too. Yeah, you read that right. His parents' anniversary party. And he's bringing Lisa. Apparently they already know about her. Or at least the version of her he's been selling. The just a friend who somehow is close enough to bring to a family celebration. I texted back, all smiles and sweetness, saying of course we'd be there. And how lovely it would be to meet Lisa myself. Took a screenshot of that reply obviously. Then I called my lawyer. Because this felt like the perfect moment. A big family gathering, where Nathan can't throw a scene, where his parents will be watching, and Lisa will be there in person. It felt like the ideal setup to lay everything on the table. The lawyer said it was bold, risky even, but that it might be exactly the kind of move I needed. She advised me to bring printed copies of the key documents. Nothing that could be brushed off or twisted into some excuse. So now that's where we are. 1 week until the party. I'm scared out of my mind, but strangely calm too. I've started putting together what my mom would call a F*******U folder. Neatly labeled copies of bank statements, property deeds, travel receipts, photos, every last shred of proof. Stuff no one can talk their way out of. I'm done being the worn-out waitress pulling double shifts, while my husband builds a life behind my back. Done letting someone else pretend to be my daughter's mother. Done being lied to. Second update. It's been 4 days since I shared all that. Now things are happening fast. I'm writing this from my mom's guest room at 3 a.m. Sleep's not happening tonight. This whole week's been a roller coaster. The party is tomorrow, and I've been getting ready on multiple fronts. But something happened yesterday that threw me. Didn't see it coming. Let me back up and catch you up. Right after I found out Nathan was planning to bring Lisa to the party, I decided to take a bit of a gamble. I called his mom directly, which I almost never do, since Nathan usually deals with all the family stuff. I kept things light, said I was really looking forward to finally meeting Lisa, and asked what she could tell me about her. There was this long pause on the other end. Then his mom said something that confirmed everything I feared. She told me that Nathan explained how Lisa had been helping out with Chloe, because I'd been so focused on building my career with the second job, that I'd been struggling to juggle work and parenting, and Lisa was just stepping in to lend a hand as a friend. She actually sounded sympathetic to Lisa, to this woman who's been sleeping with my husband, and pretending to be a co-parent to my child. Then she casually mentioned how Nathan brought Lisa over for dinner just last month, while I was working a night shift. I was working at the diner, thinking I was doing it to help our family survive. I said a few polite things and ended the call, before I lost my temper and said something I couldn't take back. Then I sat in my car in the Target parking lot, and screamed into my coat for 10 solid minutes. After that I called my own mom. I hadn't told her the full story yet. She lives 3 hours away, and I didn't want her to worry before I had a plan. But I finally spilled it all. Mom was furious, not just at Nathan, but at me too for not telling her sooner. We had a long emotional talk. She kept saying she was coming up right away, and I kept telling her I needed to handle this part myself. We met in the middle. She'll come the day after the party, to help with Chloe while I deal with the fallout. With that settled, I got focused. I had 3 priorities: rebuild my connection with Chloe, finish gathering my evidence, and mentally prepare for the confrontation to come. With Chloe, I've gone all in. I even joined that little parent class at her dance studio. I'm awful at it. Seriously, I've got the coordination of a baby deer on ice. But she thinks it's the funniest, sweetest thing ever. She's been teaching me the moves. Super serious, like a tiny instructor with big plans. It's turned into our thing. Just hers and mine. Wednesday afternoon, I picked her up early from school and took her out for ice cream. While we were sitting there, scooping into our sundaes, she asked me something that broke my heart all over again. She wanted to know if I was mad at her for liking Lisa. I had to take a deep breath. Told her gently that I could never be mad at her for loving someone, and that whatever was going on between the grown-ups, none of it was her fault. She looked relieved, but then she dropped another bomb. She asked if Lisa was going to move in and live with Daddy full-time at the other house. I asked what she meant. She said it so casually, like it was just a normal thing. Daddy and Lisa have another house. She stays there sometimes. It has a pink room just for her, with toys that don't fit in our house. She even has her own toothbrush there, a unicorn one. So there it was. Full confirmation. That condo Nathan bought? That's their place, where they've been building a second life. A whole fake family setup, complete with a bedroom for Chloe. I somehow managed to stay calm. Kept asking questions like I was just curious. She told me the building has a pool. Lisa makes pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse. It all sounded like some kind of twisted sitcom. That night, after Chloe fell asleep, I laid out every single piece of evidence I'd collected. I gathered it all: bank statements, property records, photos, screenshots of texts. Put together what my lawyer called a full divorce documentation package. Everything was organized, neat, and saved in multiple formats, both digital and hard copy. One copy's with my mom, another's in my personal email, and a third is tucked away in a brand new Google Drive account. Nathan knows nothing about. Then I did something I hadn't really planned. I drove out to the address of that condo I found in Nathan's papers. I wasn't going there to confront anyone. I just needed to see it. In real life. It's in one of those upscale developments downtown. The kind with boutique stores on the ground level, and sleek high-end apartments stacked above. Places that rent for more than our monthly mortgage. The next day, Nathan started acting off. He came home from work early, which he never does, and began asking oddly specific questions. Things like, who watches Chloe when I'm at the diner? Was my mom planning to visit anytime soon? At one point, he picked up my phone off the kitchen counter and asked if I changed my passcode. I hadn't. I've made sure not to change anything obvious. I told him he must be misremembering. He tried the code again, got in, scrolled through something real quick, then put it down like nothing happened. Later that night, he said we should talk about us. Coming from Nathan, a man who's avoided real conversations for most of our marriage. That was a red flag all by itself. He started by saying he knew things had been rough lately, but that he thought we could get through this. said maybe I should cut back my diner hours, that it was causing too much stress for everyone. I nodded and said I'd think about it. Inside, I was screaming. He knew something was up. Maybe Lisa saw me near the condo. Maybe his mom mentioned our phone call. Or maybe he noticed that some financial documents had been copied and placed back in his desk. Just a little too perfectly. Then came Friday morning just yesterday. I woke up and he was already gone. His side of the bed hadn't even been slept in. Chloe told me he'd left before she was up too. After I dropped her at school. I met with my lawyer one final time before the anniversary party. We combed through all the evidence again. Talked strategy for how to approach the confrontation. And what to expect afterward. She warned me, Nathan might deny, deflect. Try to turn his family against me. But with what I had, there wouldn't be much wiggle room. When I got home, there was a vase of roses on the kitchen counter, with a card that said, I love our family. T. In 7 years of marriage. Nathan sent me flowers exactly twice. Once when we were dating. Once after Chloe was born. These weren't apology flowers. They were you-know-what-I-did flowers. I stuck them in the guest bathroom and went on with my day. By the time I picked up Chloe from school, I had 20 missed calls from him. I texted back saying my phone had been on silent during a meeting, and asked if everything was okay. He called right away, panicked, asking where I was, where Chloe was. I told him we were heading to the mall to find something cute for Chloe to wear to his parents' anniversary party. He calmed down pretty fast after that. Said he'd be home for dinner. Wanted to have a family night. I said that sounded fine. That evening he came in with pizza and ice cream. Chloe's absolute favorites. Spent the whole night playing the role of super dad. Games, homework, help, bath time, the works. It felt like I was watching him audition for Father of the Year. After Chloe went to bed, he sat down next to me on the couch. Closer than he's gotten in months. He started talking about taking a family vacation. Just the three of us. Said he'd been thinking about our future. About how much Chloe needs both of her parents. I just sat there, watching him perform, wondering if he honestly thought I was buying this act. At one point he reached for my hand, and I let him take it. It was just easier than pulling away. His hand was sweaty. Then he asked if I was still planning on coming to the party tomorrow. I said of course. Why wouldn't I? The relief on his face was almost laughable. Then, just as casually, he added that his friend Lisa probably wouldn't make it after all, something about a family emergency. I told him that was a shame. I'd been looking forward to meeting her. This morning I woke up to find him watching me sleep. Not in a sweet way. In a worried I might disappear kind of way. As soon as I opened my eyes, he pretended he was just getting up. Asked if I wanted breakfast. Suggested we take Chloe to the park before heading to his parents' place. I smiled and said that sounded lovely. Then I went to take a shower. And when I came out, I saw him thumbing through my phone again. He didn't notice me standing in the hallway. I cleared my throat, and he jumped like I'd zapped him. Dropped the phone right onto the couch. That was it. I needed a backup plan. After breakfast, I told him I had to run a quick errand. Said I needed to grab a gift for his parents. Instead, I drove straight to my mom's. Told her everything that had happened in the last few days. And asked if she could come back with me now instead of waiting for tomorrow. She didn't even blink. Had a bag packed in 5 minutes. And we were back on the road together. When we pulled into the driveway, Nathan was standing out on the porch, arms crossed. The moment he saw my mom in the car, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. The next few hours were bizarre. Nathan tried to be charming with my mom, but he kept shooting me these desperate, confused glances. Anytime she wasn't looking, Mom was polite but cool. I acted like everything was totally normal, while mentally going over every step of my plan. I told Nathan I'd be staying at my mom's that night. Said she needed help prepping for a brunch next week. He tried to argue, but with her standing right there, he couldn't say much. So now I'm back at my mom's, with my evidence folder, and a change of clothes for tomorrow. The party starts at 4 p.m. Nathan thinks I'm meeting him there. His parents are expecting the three of us, me, him, and Chloe. My lawyer's ready to take my call afterward. And Lisa? I've got a feeling she'll show. Despite that family emergency story. Either way, I'm ready. The pictures and paperwork speak louder than anything I could say. Now, I know confronting him at his parents' anniversary party Might sound cruel. But after everything, the gaslighting, the lies, watching him let someone else take my place in Chloe's life, I'm done worrying about his feelings or his image. His family deserves to know who he really is. And I deserve to reclaim my dignity. On my terms. Final update. It's been 2 weeks since the party at his parents' place. I've tried to write this update a dozen times. Started typing, then erased the words. They just wouldn't come out right. It's still hard to process everything. But I owe it to the folks who've been following this. Especially the kind messages. Thank you sincerely. I've read them all. Even if I haven't had the strength to reply. That day didn't go how I expected. Mom, Chloe and I got there just after 4. Nathan was already outside, pacing the driveway. He looked terrible. Unshaven, shirt wrinkled, hands fidgeting nonstop. The second I stepped out of the car, Nathan was already there. Right up in my face saying we had to talk. Just the two of us. Right now. I didn't want Chloe to see us fighting. So I told him I was going inside to say hello to his parents first, and kept walking. He followed behind, muttering something I couldn't quite catch. Inside, the house was warm and familiar. Family photos lined the walls, 35 years of his parents' marriage smiling back at me. There were maybe 20-25 guests chatting over drinks, plates in their hands, the kind of casual afternoon celebration I used to enjoy. His mom rushed over as soon as she spotted us. She scooped Chloe into a hug, told her how beautiful she looked in her dress. Then she turned to me. She said she was happy I made it, because apparently Nathan told her I might be stuck at work. That hit hard. So he'd been laying groundwork, making excuses for me just in case. I told her I'd rearranged my work schedule weeks ago to be here. She paused, just for a second like she didn't know what to say to that. Then smiled and moved on. I was carrying the folder I'd spent days preparing. All the documents, bank records, photos, proof of the condo. It was time. As people started taking their seats for lunch, I handed the folder to his mom. I told her calmly, "This is something I think you should see. It's about the family." She opened it, flipped through the pages. Transfers to that hidden account. Photos of Nathan and Lisa with Chloe. Property records for the condo. Her expression shifted immediately. Shock, confusion, pain, all fighting for space on her face. Nathan reached for the folder, trying to snatch it back, saying it wasn't what it looked like. But his dad stepped in, took it out of his wife's hands, and started flipping through it himself. He didn't say a word, just looked through page by page. Nathan started scrambling, saying I misunderstood, that the money was for something else, that the pictures were old. None of it landed. It all sounded paper thin. After a minute, his dad looked up and asked point blank, "Is this all true?" Nathan stumbled over something about how things had been hard in our marriage, but no one was buying it. His mom asked why I hadn't told them sooner. I told her I only recently found out the full truth myself. She nodded slowly, but I could see she was still processing, still deciding what to believe. Then the front doorbell rang. About half an hour had passed since we arrived, and there Lisa was, smiling, gift bag in hand, like she belonged there. Nathan turned pale, rushed to her, whispering frantically, probably telling her to leave. She saw me, paused, didn't say a word. But his sister reached her first, asked if she knew Nathan was married. Lisa said yes, but claimed Nathan told her we were separated, only staying under the same roof for Chloe's sake, until things were official. Then his sister pulled out a photo from the folder, a picture of me, Nathan, and Chloe at Christmas, all smiles, matching pajamas. She asked, "Does this look like a separation to you?" Lisa didn't have an answer. She left a few minutes later. Nathan trailed behind her, muttering something about explaining later. Chloe, thank God, had been outside the whole time, playing with my mom and a few cousins in the backyard, completely unaware of the storm inside. Later, his dad came up to me, asked if everything I brought was real. I told him it was. He gave me a slow nod and said, "I'm sorry. That was it." His mom stayed busy floating around the room, but I caught her glancing at me more than once, like she wanted to talk, but didn't know how to start. Eventually, she asked if we could speak privately later. I told her I had to get Chloe home soon. I thanked them for having us, said I was sorry for how it all played out. And we left. His dad shook my hand. His mom gave me a quick, uneasy hug. That night, Nathan called. Over and over. I didn't answer. The next day, I sat down with my lawyer and started the divorce paperwork. It's still in the early stages. Nowhere near done. We filed for temporary custody of Chloe. But Nathan's already fighting back, saying I'm trying to cut him out of her life. A few days after the party, he moved out. Showed up while I was at work. Grabbed his clothes, some stuff from the garage. I assume he's living at the condo now. I haven't asked. Chloe's been the hardest part in all of this. She keeps asking where her dad is, why he isn't coming home. I tell her the truth that we're living apart now. But we both still love her very much. Some days she's okay with that. Other days not so much. Last weekend she cried herself to sleep, asking if Daddy and Lisa were mad at her. Said she missed them. I held her tight and told her none of it was her fault. But it broke me. She still talks about things from Lisa's place. The pool, the toys, even her unicorn toothbrush. And I still don't know how to respond. I cut back my diner hours again. Just a few early morning shifts now, so I can be there when Chloe gets out of school. Money's tight. Nathan's supposed to start paying support. But that won't happen until the court rules. And that's dragging. I'm scraping by with my regular job. And what's left of the tips I managed to save. Chloe's still doing her dance classes. She loves them. I can't take that away from her. Watching her smile through those studio mirrors is what keeps me pushing forward. Nathan's shown up at the diner twice since the party. The first time, he stood at the counter looking like he hadn't slept in days, asking if we could talk. I told him I was working and walked away. When he didn't leave, my manager stepped in and asked him to go. The second time, he waited outside until my shift ended. Said he'd made a mistake, that he wanted to fix everything. I told him flat out I couldn't do this anymore. Then I walked right past him. He sent a few texts since then. Short messages. That he misses us. That he's sorry. I haven't replied. Last Sunday his parents called. His mom asked how Chloe was doing. Said they hadn't realized how bad things had gotten. She sounded sad. Maybe even ashamed. But she didn't say much beyond that. I told her I didn't blame them. But I needed space. Before we could have a real conversation. I don't know what they're saying to Nathan now. I'm just trying to figure out what comes next. Some days I feel solid. Making dinner with Chloe. Dancing around the living room with her after school. Other days, I sit in my car after drop-off. And just cry. I still don't know how we ended up here. This divorce is going to take months. Maybe longer. And I have no idea what'll happen with the money he stashed away. It's messy. It's unfinished. But at least I'm not pretending anymore. A few days ago, my lawyer uncovered the source of that hidden money. Turns out Nathan had been taking side jobs through his company. Freelance contracts, extra work he never told me about. And every payment went straight into that secret account. Quiet. Consistent. Deliberate. That's how he paid for the condo. The vacations. Everything. While I was stretching diner tips to buy Chloe her first pair of ballet slippers. He was using hidden income to build a whole second life. Without me. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my story.